Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday here on the Boston Marathon Sub 245 series. I'm Jeff Benezzi, and I'll be talking through how the week went. And I have 9 weeks to go at this point till the Boston Marathon, so it's getting closer. I booked my flights this week, which makes it even more real, and have my lodging, so those things are check. Just take you through the week a little bit and some of the lessons that I've learned and one question that somebody had about training. So let's get to it. On Monday and Tuesday, I completed some easy runs. I stuck with about 40 minutes for each of the morning runs. And then on Tuesday, I had a secondary run about 35 minutes. I think the cold is behind us, so cross our fingers. It seems like temperatures are rising as the week's going on, so that's great. Come to Wednesday, I did mile repeats this week as a way to help my lactic threshold and improve my fitness overall. So I did 4x1 mile with about 60 to 70 seconds rest. Ran with a couple friends, which was great to have company for the workout. We did a mile loop near where we live, and I started at 5:57. Then I ran 5:43, 5:40, and 5:37. And I ran that in the Nike Pegasus. So most of the time I've still been training in non-carbon shoes. I've started to layer the faster performance shoes in a little bit, but I'm not doing a whole lot yet with carbon or any sort of faster shoe. Then Thursday, I had another recovery run of about 45 minutes. In the evening, I added on a shakeout of 20 minutes. And then come to Friday, I didn't run in the morning, but I ran after work. I ran about 30 minutes in the park because we had some sunshine, so that was nice. And then come to the long run yesterday, I ran a marathon specific long run. So I had it faster segments into the run. So basically I started 3-mile run to warm up, and then I started a 5-mile segment at about marathon effort. Then I recovered for a mile easy, did another 4 miles at marathon effort, mile easy, and then finished with 3 miles at a little bit faster than marathon effort. And then I cooled down another 3 miles to hit 20 miles for the day. So this is a very big long run. I'd fueled well beforehand. I noticed during, though, the second half, I should have probably taken a gel or two the second half. I'm trying to bring that fueling in slowly, but this would have been a good day to do that. My legs were quite heavy during the cool down, and it did feel like I was pretty tapped on the glycogen stores. So for next time, I'll just start bringing in the Morton gels in the same pattern that I'll do for the marathon. So for fueling, essentially every 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be taking a gel. And I think in the past I've done mile 5, 10, 15, 20, and then if I need something around like 22, so I can at least have that for me that lasts a little bit, I will. Sometimes I've done like 4, 8, half marathon, 18, and then 22. But I'll definitely take about 5 to 6 gels during the race. And then I also brought a bottle with me yesterday, so a handheld. It was about 12 ounces with some Nuun. In the future, I'll probably do an Element just to have the sodium, and can just like sip on that. And then I'll find where the mile marker is in. I mean, I can talk about this later in Boston, but they have Gatorade and water, so you kind of use that to your advantage too at some points. for the most part, I was really happy with yesterday. Just with the fueling piece, I would have added a little bit. Overall, though, the paces I was running in the Nike Pegasus was 6:25 down to 6:06 for the first 5-mile segment. And then the next 4-mile segment, I was running between 6:15 and 6:01, 6:03. And then the final 3 miles, I was running about 6:05 to 6 flat pace for that last few. So I felt really good about just completing the run, getting a solid 20 in, which I'll get a few more in before the marathon. My goal for this is to run my best time that I've ever run. And that's why I'm running these long runs with intensity. And that's why I'm also adding in these workouts that'll really bring that lactic threshold up. It's definitely a different conversation if I'm coaching somebody about finishing a distance or just completing the race versus trying to hit a specific time. So those are two different paths. Both just take a little bit of nuance. So today I just ran for about 30 minutes, just really lightly moving the legs. I was going about 9-minute to 10-minute miles just to get some blood flow to the body. And so I'm definitely sore in the calf, a little bit in the quad for sure, but not even as bad as last week when I did that Boston simulation. So I feel really happy about how things are going. Somebody asked about volume of training and how many miles to run. So that can be a tough question, but it depends. I mean, to be honest, you have to look at your training history as well as when you started and how many miles you started during that period of time. So for me, when I first started running in high school and in college, I mean, we were running between 20 and 50 miles a week, 20 to 45 miles a week in high school. And then after in college, I was working anywhere between 30 to 70 miles a week. So I had that going. And then post-college, when I started doing half marathons, I was running between 60 and 50 to 65 miles a week at first. And then when I started my first marathon block, I was probably peaking out at about 70 miles a week. The next year, I worked up towards 80 miles a week as a peak. And then the third year, post-college that I was marathoning, that was for Chicago in 2015, I was peaking around 90 miles a week. And those were for multiple high weeks before I would take a deload week and then go back up to that high mileage. So throughout that time, I didn't try to get to 90 miles a week right away. And now that I have a family, I'm not trying to hit that either. I'm basically balancing what makes sense to get the most out of my sessions during the week and then those more intense long runs on the weekend. If I'm running too much and working and trying to balance family, it's going to be more of a downward spiral, and it's not going to let me actually run those sessions well that make the most difference. So it depends on where you are in your running journey. For the marathon, though, I think if you're trying to run a good marathon, you want to at least be around that 40 to 50 mile, I would say at least 50 miles a week to get close to that at some point. So 40 to 50 if you're like just trying to finish or even to hit a certain time. I think it'd be tough to just run up to a long run and a couple short runs. You can do it, but it's definitely a higher proportion of your weekly mileage and can be more risky for injuries. So looking ahead for this block, I'm trying to be between 60 and 75 miles a week, and that's able to balance the rest of my my family duties and my work duties and all those things, all those responsibilities. So this coming week, I'm going to be trying to hit closer to 65, maybe touch 70. And then I'll take a deload week next week. So I'll cut back about 20 to 30% to let my body absorb these past few weeks of training. And that'll make a difference in moving forward to the next phase of the training. So there's this push and pull. I mean, yesterday I did 20 miles. Today I only did a couple. And you have to have that to allow your body to rest and recuperate from the work that you've been doing. The one, I'm sure lots of you have heard, that 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. I have a little book here, the Little Black Book of Training Wisdom. And it's a really good book. And in here, they actually they highlight that and how it can be, that concept can be applied to running. So if we're thinking about the 80-20 principle, where you're getting 20% of your training, those hot sessions or those interval sessions, tempo sessions, they're going to count for about 80% of your performance improvements. So there's a couple corollaries that the author of this book made for that, Dr. Dan Cleather. So he writes, corollary 1, make sure you perform the hot sessions and that they are completed with the most optimal quality. And corollary 2, don't do things that affect your ability to perform the hot sessions with optimal quality. So if I'm trying to run, X number of miles, let's say I really want to hit 90 miles a week like I used to 10 years ago, and it's taking away from those quality sessions, that's not going to be impactful or helpful for me. I'm going into that overtraining zone. So I need to find that optimal amount of volume outside of those high quality sessions, the 80% of my training where it can be easy. I need to fill that with just enough that I'm able to do optimal training on the on the Wednesday and Saturday session. So that's going to be really beneficial. If you're doing a little less than that's okay. You're maybe a little bit undertrained going into the race. I'd rather have that and get to the line healthy. So for me, I know right now with where I am, that 60 to 75 is going to be about right. And that allows me to do these mile repeats well, to do these long marathon Sunday or Saturday sessions well, and I can just keep building consistency towards the race. So I hope that helps. And if you have questions or comments, please let me know. I've got 9 weeks to go at this point till the Boston Marathon. I'm excited. I'm going to take this week smart. Need to make sure, continue to get the recovery and the food and sleep that I need. So that's all there is. If you, again, reach out, and I hope you're enjoying this. So happy running.